Rangers is cool. You've got electric guitars, fight scenes, long-running story arcs and character progression, the CGI that hasn't evolved in the past 30 years. It's all part of what makes this show so fun. So I wanted to look back at these shows and rank them. This would take a really long time if I did all 30 seasons, so it will be split into 4 eras. The Zordon era, the post-Zordon era, the Disney era, and the Neo-Saban era. I've unfortunately not watched any of the Hasbro era Power Rangers series, so I won't be able to talk about them. I've been going on for way too long now, so let's talk about the 5th place spot and the worst Zordon era Power Rangers series.
It's morphin' time!
Now, some might say it's unfair to rank this one, since it's only 10 episodes, but I do think it counts as a separate thing, that being Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. The story continues right after the end of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, with the Rangers being turned into kids. So the Alien Rangers from Aquitar come to protect the Earth, while the kids try to find the Zeo crystals that were set up in the previous season. The Kid Rangers find the crystals and are all turned back into adults, and this leads to the story of Zeo. The Alien Rangers here aren't memorable in the slightest, as the episodes focus mainly on the Kid Rangers character-wise and the Alien Rangers action-wise. There are not really any bonuses to this season that make it better than Mighty Morphin or any of the other seasons of this era, so let's move on to the 4th place spot.
Shift into turbo.
Good old Power Rangers Turbo. Many consider this one of the worst series of the whole show, and while I don't think it's that bad, it definitely isn't near the level of the next shows we're going to talk about. The story takes place after the events of the Turbo movie, which, fun fact, is the only Power Rangers movie that is canon. Rocky is replaced in an admittedly very dumb way, and a kid named Justin becomes the new Blue Ranger. First of all, a lot of people write off this show because of Justin, but the actor honestly does a good job in terms of Power Rangers acting, which, isn't exactly a very high standard. Expecting incredible acting from Power Rangers is like expecting ice cream from McDonald's. The Rangers can use turbo powers, where it's never properly explained why they needed them over the Zeo powers, and now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of complaints regarding Turbo stem from issues regarding the movie, because I think that it's a solid season of Power Rangers. Some episodes are laughed at because of how absurd they are, but I don't really mind it since Power Rangers has always had really silly moments from time to time. I've been defending the show so far, so what are my problems with it? There's not much, to be honest. It just doesn't reach the highs the other shows reach until the finale. But Chase into Space is really an incredible finale. It's also clear that the formula Power Rangers had been using for so long was starting to get kind of repetitive, and that changes had to be made for the following season if the show is to continue going. Also, I will say that it was weird to switch up the whole team in the very middle of the season, but it was for the best. So many stories had been told with the previous team, and there wasn't much room for new stuff if they kept the same Rangers around. And I do think that the show does take a slight increase in quality with an almost completely new cast. So Turbo isn't bad, it could have just been much better. Now, for the 3rd place spot.
It's morphin' time!
The classic, the original, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. For the vast majority of people, when they think about the Power Rangers franchise, this is what they think of. And this really is a great start to the franchise. The show follows 5 teenagers who meet Zordon, a space wizard, and become a team that fights the villain Rita Repulsa and her monsters. The original team of Jason, Zach, Billy, Trini, and Kimberly is incredible, and the Rangers have a perfect dynamic. Bulk and Skull, 2 Billies at the Ranger School, are an absolutely great comedic duo who appear throughout the entirety of this era. The Green with Evil arc is great, especially for something done so early on in the show. And Tommy's, of course, one of the greatest Power Rangers. There's so many other awesome arcs and one-off episodes that it would take forever to talk about them all, especially since this is the longest Power Ranger series, lasting for 3 pretty long seasons. While it sucks that Jason, Zach, and Trini's actors left the show over problems the showrunners could have easily solved, I do think that it was important that Rangers were being replaced, because, as I previously said with Turbo, it provides the ability to tell more unique stories that previous characters couldn't go through based on their personalities. Plus, it is what allowed the show to keep going for so long. While Rita Repulsa is a very iconic villain, Lord Zed is easily the top tier Power Rangers antagonist in Season 2. He was made exclusively for Power Rangers, not appearing in Super Sentai, and he's intimidating in every scene he's in. Later on in the show, when he starts being with Rita Repulsa, it does make him a lot more goofy, but those original appearances were something else. The series was the blueprint for the entire rest of the show, and it leaves a great foundation for a franchise to build off of. Now, there are 2 more series left, and the 2nd spot goes to...
It's morphin' time!
Power Rangers Zeo is my personal favorite season of the show, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it the best. It's still amazing though. The series follows the Rangers after the events of Alien Rangers, where they now have to face a new threat called the Machine Empire. This season also sets up a lot of staples of the Power Rangers series. As Zeo is only one season, it feels a lot more structured compared to Mighty Morphin. Honestly, the best way to describe this series is Mighty Morphin, but better. The team here is a great dynamic that is still carried from Mighty Morphin. I love how the identity of the Gold Ranger does feel like a genuine mystery, and bringing back Jason as the new 6th Ranger was an absolutely perfect idea. You can feel that the writing improves after Mighty Morphin Season 3 and Alien Rangers, thanks to the heaps of new footage they have access to now that they don't have to come up with as many ways to keep using the same Ranger footage. Zeo is another great early Power Rangers series with a ton of charm, and I definitely recommend watching it. If you're a Power Rangers fan, you probably weren't surprised that this is the top spot. First place belongs to none other than
Alright, let's rock it!
Power Rangers in space. One thing that I love about Power Rangers as a show is that whenever it seems that the show's going to get canceled, that's when the writers do their best work. Power Rangers up to this point had a pretty consistent formula: teenagers defending their homes from space villains while having to deal with personal and school problems. But with the ending of Turbo, the Rangers are now following the villains into space so that they could save Zordon. The Turbo Rangers have TJ, Cassie, Carlos, and Ashley end up meeting this human from outer space named Andros, who gives them new powers. The series follows this Ranger team trying to find Zordon while facing the new threats of Dark Spectre, and who we mainly follow in this series, Astronema. Andros is a very unique Red Ranger compared to the previous ones, feeling very separated to the rest of the group at first. But they eventually become a close and amazing Ranger team. It really helps that we already had half a season with the previous team, since we already know play about their characters, but now we get to see as their characters change with them being in a new environment. While the Rangers went to space a couple of times previously, it was never as consistent as here. The 6th Ranger, Zane, has an interesting arc that ties into Andros' story. Of course, you can't forget to talk about Astronema. I think the reveal that Astronema is Andros' sister is done really well. She also sets the golden standard for redeemed Power Rangers villains, and she easily remains that golden standard today. Some more villains you can't avoid talking about are the Psycho Rangers, who are some of the best villains in the whole franchise. They're evil counterparts created to defeat the Rangers, and you know that if they appear in an episode, things are going to go down. They constantly made the Rangers have to think outside the box, and despite what the Rangers did, they just kept coming back. There are multiple great episodes throughout this series, such as the episodes where Justin and Adam return, but the real highlight is the finale, Countdown to Destruction. This feels like a perfect ending to the entirety of Power Rangers. I'm obviously happy that the show kept going, and there's so much wonderful stuff that came afterward, but this acts as such a conclusive end. One of the best moments of the entire franchise is when Bulk and Skull both say that they are Power Rangers a la I'm Spartacus. Bulk and Skull have so much character progression from the beginning of the show to this point that you can easily make a case for them being some of the best characters in the whole show. And you will have a ton of people agree with you on that. The scene with the Rangers revealing their identities and fighting alongside the world they protect is so awesome, you just have to go and see it for yourself. And Zordon's sacrifice works as a perfect way to conclude this saga. This is one of the best seasons of the whole show because it not only is great on its own, but it becomes a masterpiece when you have the background of the last 5 years of the show. This is what Power Rangers should be. And since this one was, of course, ultra mega super duper uber successful, the show continued. So in the future, we'll be talking about and ranking the post Zordon era Power Rangers series. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. That's gonna be it for now, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.